Now just walk, yeah. Well, I don't know if there'll be people down here. They've got rid of all the gantries and everything.
So Boris Johnson is going to be proroguing again. Unlike the last time we saw Boris Johnson proroguing Parliament, this is entirely lawful because this follows a very normal scheme of things. It's a couple of days ending with a new legislative agenda. Prorogation in any other occasion other than the last case that we saw is a normal power for normal reasons, to end one parliamentary session and to begin another. So today is the very last day that Parliament is sitting. That's the last opportunity to legislate before there's a couple of days prorogation or suspension where essentially nothing happens. Parliament doesn't meet or debate or legislate. Parliament is going to come back next week, likely on Monday, with a new legislative agenda in the Queen's speech. Now, traditionally the Queen's speech is presented by the Queen, but then it's debated in Parliament. And at the very end of that debate, Parliament is asked to vote on it. Now, this is traditionally a sign of confidence in the government. One of the big questions ahead of us is whether or not that vote of confidence in the Queen's speech, and thus vote of confidence in the government, will happen. Right now, Boris Johnson does not have a majority. And if he loses the vote on the Queen's speech, well, there's a big question of what next. The 11th of October is going to be the occasion, that final moment in which Boris Johnson can almost present and convince the European Council, but potentially also the Parliament, that there is a deal. There is a withdrawal agreement to be agreed between the EU and the UK. The 14th is likely the Queen's speech and a new parliamentary session and beginning of that debate. But very importantly for next week is the European Council, the final European Council on the 17th and 18th of October. This is the last opportunity for an extension to be requested and given, but also the final opportunity for a withdrawal agreement to be agreed, to be ratified between the EU and the government. A lot of things can happen, but it all comes down to the 30th. In order for anything, absolutely anything other than a no-deal Brexit, one of three things, and three things only, have to happen. Either first, a withdrawal agreement is agreed between the UK and the EU. Again, we require the consent of the UK Parliament, the European Parliament, and a qualified majority of the rest of the EU member states in Council. If that doesn't happen, a further extension. And again, that requires unanimity in Council. Everyone has to agree to a further amount of time. The third option, and this is the only option that essentially remains an option until the end of October, is revocation. That only requires the UK to take back notification under Article 50 and to essentially stop Brexit. But in this scenario, it's the least likely option.